Okay, so let's dive now into the third game at Brixham and see who the Tibetans fought next. And there it is. It's sort of a Tibetan nemesis in that the Khushan army has got elephants in, and that's one thing that the Tibetans are not particularly good at dealing with. Cataphracts just can't get out of the way of the big lumbering grey beasties, and they do tend to get trampled by them. This army does, however, have some of its own cataphracts. It's a pretty mounted army. This is not one that's gone for any of the infantry really as such, other than supporting the Indians. That it has as a sort of sub-command. So you've got a command with 3 cataphracts, 3 medium cavalry, bow, the rubbish Indian cavalry that's sort of mandatory. It's almost mandatory not to spell it correctly as well, and a horse archer. So solid block of cataphracts. None of them are elite though, so nothing special there. And that horse archer block can operate on its own, or it can support the cataphracts as well. And the Indian cavalry just lurk at the back. Then you've got a chunky, very chunky Indian command that puts out quite a lot of shooting with 4 mixed archers. It's got 2 elephants, again ordinary, a couple of light infantry to screen the elephants, and a light cavalry bow just to, well, I guess float around at the back or support some of the other commands, give some extra overlaps. And then you've got a third command there that is horse archers and light cavalry, and the light cavalry javelin gives it a bit more aggression, ability to go in close and bully other enemy light horse. It's a pretty big 24. A lot of it revolves around the Indians and those 3 cataphracts, and then there's a lot of other stuff to sort of swamp you and shoot you up. So let's see how that works out in practice. So here is the game. Bits and bobs of terrain scattered everywhere. The Khushans have really stacked to what would be their left-hand side of the table. This bit of terrain does make it difficult for the very terrain light Tibetans to do anything. The gun sits there, potentially causing the elephants pause for thought. They can be picked off by a gun. I've spread a couple of cataphracts here to come around. They sort of don't fit really, and I kind of want to avoid the elephants. And I've got my faster cavalry command here. It looks very outgunned at the moment. I've got cataphracts down the middle. They're sort of in the wrong place, well, very much in the wrong place against elephants as well. And the spearmen are facing off against some medium cavalry, so it's not a particularly great matchup there for me after deployment. So what happens? The spearmen push forward. My cavalry sort of push out, trying to deal with the screen of enemy light horse here, and the Khushans and Indians advance in a big solid line, whereas these guys just sort of sit, wait and quiver and hope that the gun can do some damage before they get too close, and that these guys can kind of pin them back and sort of whittle away some of this so that what ends up hitting the cataphracts isn't quite as pokey as it should be. So what happens as this goes forwards is the spearmen are really going for it. They're really pushing up. They're engaging the mounted archers and the Indian cavalry, some of their cataphracts as well, create a bit of a gap potentially even for these lancers to race through and cause some trouble. But this is all about trying to throw grit into the wheels, trying to stop this machine just kind of lumbering forwards and clattering into my cataphracts as well. It's taking some risks with the spears, but they're almost the best troops. They might as well get engaged pretty quickly. What about the rest of it? This cavalry command is completely outmatched. It's got no shooting really. It's just rushed back. It's come out of the way. Even the light horse are just sort of skittering their way behind the cataphracts, who I think have just sort of seen the elephants over there. This is sort of their best chance. They've drifted a bit left, and what I'm trying to do is just not play against any of this stuff now. Get all of this stuff out and just really concentrate where there's an opportunity. But take the rest of the army out of the game by manoeuvre. So here the elephants and the Indian command is starting to swing in. They've just left some of the other guys behind. They're not necessarily taking the bait. They are trying to swing in and come into the flank on the cataphracts. Will these guys be able to squirt out with the long range of shooting? You can see shooting is already starting to leave quite a few markers on my troops. Well, they can just about squeeze out very definitely, but what's happened here is that the Khushans have drifted across, and the cataphracts are now committed against the Khushan cataphracts. There's an elephant there disordering me. That's not great. That marker is checking to see that this light horse will be okay if and when that cataphract dies. But you know, still many of these are out of the game, although these guys are the faster moving cavalry. They're coming up. I'm just trying to get my cavalry, my proper cavalry out. I'm not quite sure what they'll do, but they really just don't want to be over here and getting shot up. So what's happening now? Cataphracts against cataphracts with elephants in overlap as well. The spearmen looks like they've broken through and are trying to do something to turn the line, but the the Indians are blocking them off with their own pretty cool museum cataphracts. I've sort of got an opportunity to get through here, but this is really a matchup where the elephant potentially tips the balance, but I do have overlaps here to try and do something about that. So you can see the Indian mixed shooters coming through. They're almost coming faster than my cavalry can retreat, so I'm having to throw something that really shouldn't be there. This is almost the least bad option. Let them shoot my light horse instead of letting them shoot my cavalry, because the light horse can run away a bit quicker. And this combat is still ongoing, and this cavalry unit hasn't really got through. So they're just moving forwards a little bit. So here's a bit more of an aerial view. I'm really starting to run out of space here. The spearmen have got engaged, they're still fighting, they've not really broken through. These guys are still suddenly being caught out by more light horse coming in. The spearmen are threatening the flanks. There's a little bit of a breakthrough there with my cataphracts against the enemy cataphracts. We're winning there, which is great, but these spearmen, I've just had to do something about them. These weren't quite in the right position to do it, so the light horse are blocking them. Hopefully they'll pull out and these guys can come forwards, but still these elephants are very dangerous and in play, and the gun hasn't really been doing much at all. The elephants have managed to avoid it quite comprehensively. So I think that's the light horse gone. This is getting ready for a bit of a bold cavalry charge, but more elephants have moved up and are starting to block that opportunity. They're protecting them by forcing these to react to them. My cataphracts are going through, but that does suddenly look like there's an opportunity for an elephant to roll up the end of the line while that fight still goes on, which is not really what I want. I'm starting to look very thin on this part of the table. So these guys have blocked off the elephants. Those guys have sort of gone in. More cavalry are just trying to face off elephants, but this is suddenly, we can't really deal with this. We're just having to sit in front of it, try and avoid it getting into combat as soon as possible, while this chewing action just isn't really breaking through particularly decisively, and having these cavalry in against these guys is not great at all. Well, you know, we got through one of them, but the elephant's still there. The cataphracts are still fighting away, so it's turning into a bit more of a close quarters slugfest than you might have expected. The elephants are still not quite in it, but there's still some cataphracts there. That's a commander's elephant, not a real elephant. So this is sort of when this starts to go wrong, really. The elephants have to be dealt with. I can't really skirmish them. My cavalry are impact cavalry, so they can't evade away. I've just got to deal with them. I'm going to have to fight them with two lots of cavalry, and it's not a total loss, but it's not good. It has the opportunity to go very, very badly wrong as these guys just keep driving forwards. And there you go. That's it. Gone very, very badly wrong indeed. My cataphracts have rolled up and chewed up some stuff over here, but all of my other mounted cavalry command is now obliterated. It's been caught out piecemeal trying to slow these elephants down, and what's happened is it hasn't really done it. More fast-moving cavalry have come around the back and are now starting to, you know, it looks like they may even have taken my guns here and to threaten that. So this is really suddenly a huge swathe of my army has sort of skirmished badly in front of the elephants as long as it can, and then very, very suddenly collapsed, and that was the end of that game.